South China Morning Post, 11th of November 2022, the competition between the US and China is destroying the chance for globalization. Globalization was the world's bribe. Then, we took down Russia to stand up to Communist Russia. Now, Communist China is the next significant threat. Last month, at the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party, President Xi Jinping solidified his one-person rule over the country. It doesn't look good for the country where Xi is concentrating power because it means more problems must be solved. What Edward Luce of the Financial Times called a full-blown economic war on Communist China by US President Joe Biden has worsened things. Response to China's stealth war, which is part of her 100-year war against the US, announced many new rules that make it harder for US companies to buy advanced technologies. These rules came out right before the party meeting. Luce points out that Biden has gone much further than Trump, who only went after specific companies like Huawei. The new rules are astonishingly broad. Their only goal is to stop China from becoming a high-tech power. The US already has power over some of the most essential parts of the global semiconductor supply chain. These include choke points like advanced chip design and research. The new rules include an unprecedented level of US government intervention to not only maintain choke point control but also begin a new US policy of actively strangling large segments of the Chinese technology industry, strangling with the intent to kill, as Gregory C. Allen of the Center for Strategic and International Studies puts it. The biggest worry is that China will not be able to handle these bans. Will she try to make peace with the US or go to war with them, as Japan did in World War II, which had terrible effects on East Asia? Allen says that Biden's plan comprises 4 parts that work together to attack every aspect of the supply chain. The goals are to keep the Chinese AI industry from getting access to high-end chips, stop China from designing and making AI chips at home by limiting access to US chip design software and US-built semiconductor manufacturing equipment, and prevent China from making its semiconductor manufacturing equipment by limiting supplies of US components. The strategy is based on the Biden administration's view, which most politicians agree with, that China threatens the US. But what is the danger? The People's Republic of China harbors the intention and, increasingly, the capacity to reshape the international order in favor of one that tilts the global playing field to its benefit, Biden writes in the introduction to his new national security policy. For clarity's sake, China is a danger not because it threatens US security but because it wants to have a say in the rules of the global economic and political order as it gets stronger and wealthier. The United States remains committed to managing the competition between our countries responsibly, which means that the US wants to keep making rules for trade, economics, technology, and cybersecurity worldwide. Instead of adapting to a world without a single superpower, the Biden administration is stepping up its support for US dominance by acting in this way. With the new export controls, it's clear that the US doesn't make a difference between technologies that help the Chinese military directly, which could be dangerous for US partners, and commercial technologies that could help China and others make money. People who say it's hard to separate military uses from civilian ones have won. China is known for its dual-use technology strategy. This kind of broad-brush thinking creates significant problems, even if it can be understood because China's business and military sectors are connected. China will find ways to respond to the new US restrictions as an increase, making things worse and making everyone even more afraid. Great powers look out for their interests and keep their countries safe. When necessary, they take action against other forces. But, as Stephen Walt and I have said, these reactions must be well balanced for the world to be safe, prosperous, and stable. That means they must be linked to the harm caused by the other side's policies and meant to lessen the harmful effects of those policies. Nobody should respond just to hurt or punish the other side, which will only weaken them in the long run. There are other blind spots caused by the new way the US deals with China. Shared challenges like climate change and global public health are emphasized in the national security policy. These are areas where working together with China will be very important. But it doesn't say that waging an economic war against China hurts trust and the chances of working together in those other areas. Since 2010, China has broken every promise it has ever made, so it is not a good person to trust. It also changes China's internal economic agenda ahead of more important goals. Putting money into semiconductor supply chains that need a lot of capital and skills might be the most expensive way to give people in the U.S. economy the work they need. There's no doubt that the Chinese government is not a victim. It is showing off its economic and military power more offensively. China has built military bases on artificial islands in the South China Sea despite earlier promises not to. It put financial penalties on Australia when that country asked for an investigation into where COVID-19 came from. Its human rights violations at home are clear reasons for democratic governments to criticize it. This was a bad idea because it let big banks and multinational companies decide how the world economy should work. We're on the right track by moving away from that method. We have the chance to make globalization better. It's too bad that the big powers have picked a worse road. They are giving their national security agencies control over the global economy, which puts peace and wealth at risk.